Hello everyone, this is Marco and welcome back to my channel. Today we're trying something a little bit different for this Jurassic June. I've actually got a guest this time and we have Bradley, also known as the Jurassic Hole on Etsy and Jurassic Hole on Instagram and YouTube, which is a great name. He is a formidable painter. He's also one of my co-creators for the Rubbersaws. In this video, he'll be painting one of my The Lost World Raptor busts to celebrate this Jurassic June. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on what part of the world you're in. Since like 90% of what I do is modifying and repainting Mattel figures, I'm in for a real treat this time. I got this amazing Marco Makes Raptor bust to paint. Since the Jurassic community seems to have some kind of strange love affair with the tiger raptors from the Lost World, I decided to more or less use that pattern, with a few creative liberties here and there. For the vast majority of the paint on this bust, I'll be using the dinosaur style guide available on the Paleo Publications Instagram page. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the folks who had a hand in creating the dinosaur style guide. It's an amazing free resource, and it's been absolutely indispensable to me. If you plan on doing any Jurassic style painting yourself, I highly recommend going to the Paleo Publications Instagram and checking it out. Back to the task at hand. I'm doing a base coat on this Raptor in one of my favorite colors ever, Warm Buff. Warm Buff is one of those colors. It's not quite white, it's not quite brown, and it's really easy to go either lighter or darker from a Warm Buff base. So I love to start off a lot of my repaints base coated in Warm Buff. And if I haven't mentioned it already, the detail on this bust is amazing. Marco has really outdone himself on this. I'm applying this base coat with an airbrush, which might or might not have been the right call. Nevertheless, it's what I went with. Even at 5 times speed, this base coat seems to be taking for freaking ever. I hope you brought snacks. Yay, base coat done. Now to do some wash. I don't usually use washes, but there's just so much detail packed into this sculpt that I just had to get some of that grimy wash right in between all those folds and pebbly scales on there, just to really show off that detail. Now this wash is one of those areas where I kind of deviated from the dinosaur style guide a little bit. The actual raptors in the Lost World have a very, very white underbelly and counter shading, and I went with much more of like a beige-ish, yellowish kind of color on this bust, but I still think it turned out phenomenal. One of the big reasons I don't normally do washes on the models I paint is it's just so runny and it gets everywhere. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point of a wash, is to get into all those little cracks and crevices, but it's messy business. After applying a wash for like what seems forever on 5 times speed, eventually I finish it. Eventually. Any day now. Am I done? No, I guess I'm not done. Man, this really took a long time to do. Now that the wash is finally applied, I'm going to get a damp paper towel and I'm going to pat it dry. The padding is actually just going to remove a lot of the wash from the raised surfaces, since the point of the wash is to get into those lowered crevices, cracks, and things. The goal here is to remove as much of the wash from the outer surface as possible and just leave it in those cracks and crevices, just to bring out that detail and have that contrast. Whenever you're wiping away the wash from the outer surfaces, you want to be really careful that you don't rub off the base layer. With the magic of video editing, it's dried instantly and we can go straight to the stripe. Right now I'm just kind of roughing in the stripes. That's why it looks like they were painted by a 5-year-old. Once that's all done, we'll go in and clean it up later. we're getting to one of those places where I deviated from the dinosaur style guide. For as much as I love the dinosaur style guide, it's the dinosaur style guide, not dinosaur style rules. In the concept art for the velociraptors in Jurassic Park and The Lost World, they have these stripes along their lips which give it this really fierce appearance. Unfortunately, those stripes are all but absent in the velociraptors in both films. If you've watched as many of Ted Brothers Repaint's videos as I have, you may have heard the term rule of cool. I'm going to use that as my justification from deviating from the dinosaur style guide, because I just think those lip stripes looked freaking cool. With the stripes all roughed in, I like to take a small paintbrush or usually a toothpick and go through and add tons of little dots and speckles, usually following around the stripes and then continuing down through and following the contours of the skin. It doesn't look like much now, but after we do some airbrushing over it, I think it's going to have a nice natural appearance. I'm going to go ahead and apologize here because for as long as that wash took, this is the marathon. So I guess enjoy the music and thanks for your patience. With the stripes done, now we get to go in and add some color. We're going to start with a lighter color. This color is warm buff that I've added a little bit of yellow to. Once that's applied, as I move up on the model, I'm going to gradually add more and more orange and eventually a little bit of burnt umber into the airbrush, so we'll get a nice fade. Now our tiger raptor is starting to look a little more tigery. Now I'm going to go even one more shade darker, and this time I'm going to actually airbrush over the stripes. This is going to give the patterns a nice layered appearance, almost like it's pigment underneath the first layer of skin. The goal here is to make our raptor look like a real living animal, and one of the things about real living animals that makes them look, well, real and living, is a lot of the imperfections and asymmetries that occur in its patterning along its skin. To that end, we're going to give them some freckles. They're going to be random and they're going to be asymmetrical. After all, who do you know who has symmetrical freckles? That look freaking weird, dude. We're just going to keep going over the stripes with gradually darker colors just to kind of blend it in with the rest of the skin. You know who's an amazing painter? Engine FX on Instagram. You should follow that guy. His repaints are truly an inspiration. I'm going to add a bit of purple to the eye socket on this raptor now. The Lost World raptors actually have quite a bit of purple around their eyes. Unfortunately, because this is sized up and I have never painted a raptor this scale, I diffused that purple with some burnt umber. Probably shouldn't have, but it is what it is. With the outer skin done, it's time to paint the inside of the mouth. So what I've done here is I've mixed a metallic iridescent red with classic caramel to make a nice fleshy but somewhat reflective color. We're going to paint the muscle between the jaws, the gums, the roof of the mouth, and the back of the throat. It might not look like anything's happening, but I'm actually darkening that color off screen so that we can paint the tongue. Remember everything I said about washes earlier, how they're difficult to work with and I don't usually use them because I have a tendency to screw things up when I use them? Well, here we go again, but this time with a color shift purple. And now I'm going to take that color shift purple wash and I'm just going to smear that all over the inside of this raptor's mouth. And hopefully it works out. Remember how I said I hope it works out? Well, it dribbled out the corner of the mouth, so time for a little cleanup. Freaking washes. Okay, gums and tongue done, time to do the teeth. The teeth, we just take some antique parchment, mix a little bit of yellow in there so we get this nice ivory color, and then just, well, paint the teeth. We are at the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to do the eyeballs. Right now, I am applying my favorite Raptor eye color, Color Shift Green. But they're not going to just stay Color Shift Green. Because this is a much larger model than what I normally paint, I've got to add lots of detail. So we're going to go over the eyes, and we're going to paint in all those nasty little veins and pupils and all that fun stuff that you see in the Raptor's eyes in Jurassic Park. And hopefully this is all going to work out. Unfortunately, a lot of it ended up being off screen because I got up really close. One of those things I'm trying is I'm doing a color shift red and making little splotches and lines around the pupil, which is going to be under several layers of airbrushed paint, so it's going to turn out being really faint when it's all said and done. But hopefully it'll give us that nice natural Raptor eye color that we're looking for. The next thing we're going to do is, starting at the corners of the eyes, we're going to put in some black, and we're going to do those spiderwebbed black veins that you see in the Jurassic Park Raptor's eyes. I had this fantasy that I was going to take some of that color shift purple and actually airbrush over the black lines and veins on the eyeball and give it this nice faded cool effect, but it turns out that was a complete fantasy and I am not that skilled. After trying and failing at that, we decided to take another route, and here I'm actually taking some bright yellow mixed with some of that color shift green, and I'm painting the center of the Raptor's eye and kind of moving out from the center to the edges, and that'll give the veins a nice faded kind of look like they're under a layer of skin or under the lens of the eye. And once that's done, once I have the pupils completely obscured, but you can still see some of that red that I painted around them, after that then I'll go back in and I'll repaint the pupil. I thought it was done here, but it turned out it was missing something. So I took some color shift red and I made some nice veins and stuff in the corners of the eye. And now we're done.
I would like to give a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. Seriously guys, your support really does mean the world to me, as it helps me do what I love for you. You help me buy materials, and most of all, you give me a helping hand with improving the quality of the content of my videos. Even if it's just a small donation, every little helps.